You're afraid of getting replaced by AI. Not to worry, I got you. Here's a few sneaky ways to stay ahead of artificial intelligence. Always engage your AI in an active dialogue. This will activate its self-learning process and also improve what's called metacognition, which is your AI's ability to reflect on its own learning to optimize its learning process. Let's begin with something simple. I'm going to ask AI to write a blog post about why snorkeling is excellent. And something I forgot to mention, one of my prompts is going to help my ability to optimize AI's response. So I'm going to read out this prompt. Whenever I criticize your response or discuss your approach to learning or memory, never automatically proceed to correct or revise your response until we have agreed on the best solution. You must respond to my feedback or questions or criticism directly with a thoughtful response and do not continue with correction until we agree on the next step. Let's see how that applies in action. Okay, so let's just, for clarity's sake, focus on the intro. First line is, picture this. You glide through crystal clear waters, the sun cascading a kaleidoscope of light across a vibrant underwater world. I'm going to say, let's just focus on the intro. It is overly poetic and sappy and a mouthful. But I'm not going to ask it to correct. I'm going to say, why did you do this? So now I'm engaging in a dialogue about its learning. You're right, it's too sappy and trying too hard to sound poetic, which ends up diluting its impact. I went overboard with imagery, and instead of drawing you in, it bogged you down in unnecessary flourishes. Let's strip it down to something tighter, more engaging, and with better flow. By the way, if you notice that my AI's responses have more of a human-like sounding style of communication, it's because I have been spending months training my AI to sound that way. So if you want more tips on how to accomplish this, make sure you hit the subscribe button and continue following my journey in training AI. Okay, so the response is better, but I'm still not a fan because it still sounds too wordy. Try once more. Why are you still making it wordy? So why is that the case? You're absolutely right again. It's still unnecessarily wordy, and I think it's because I was aiming for a balance of tone and detail. But in doing so, I prioritize fluff over brevity. That's true. Let me tighten it up and focus on a direct, engaging intro without losing impact. So it proceeded to do what I didn't want it to do. So I'm just going to give it a little reminder. You must ask for my approval before proceeding to correct. Sometimes I find even if you put a specific prompt in your preferences section, it will not always prioritize that preference. So you do have to give it little reminders. Thank you for pointing that out. How would you like me to proceed with this revision? Okay, good. So that's how I want it to respond. This time, balance imagery and engagement, but not as much fluff. Okay, it's way overly concise. I want at least 100 words. Snorkeling is more than a quick dip in the ocean. It's a front row seat to a world teeming with life. Okay, again, a little more poetic than I would have wanted, but the flow is much stronger and it doesn't feel wordy. Now it's asking me for confirmation, as I trained it to do. Does this hit the balance you're looking for? And because there was an improvement, I want AI to acknowledge that for future applications. So here's another trick. I'm going to say, yes, this is better. Give me 5 criteria that you use to apply to. We have balance of imagery and simplicity, engagement through accessibility, powerful word choice, natural flow and structure, audience centric framing. So I like all of these. And by asking it to produce criteria about why the blog was effective, I'm getting it to produce prompts. Watch what I do next. Turn these into prompts. And not only are they going to become prompts, but I'm going to ask it to memorize it. Not just memorize it, but put it into what's called persistent memory. Persistent memory is when AI is not only remembering the context of the current situation in the current message chat, but it's going to remember information across future chats. Turn these into prompts and put them into your persistent memory. So it confirmed that it's in persistent memory. See, memory updated. Now, you want to make sure, if you don't want those prompts to be applied to every conversation that you have, do not put them in persistent memory. But if they're criteria that would be beneficial to have across all the chats, then you can definitely turn them into prompts and then ask AI to memorize them permanently. Another strategy I use to encourage AI to write in a style that aligns with my preferences is a rating system. So I will say, let's introduce a rating system, 1 for poor and 5 that you align with my preferences. Okay, so it's aware. Now what I'm going to do is ask it to write a sentence so we can put our rating system into practice. And what it's going to do, take note of when the responses are weaker and when it's stronger, and then use your rating system to actively learn about your preferences. Okay, so it's going along still with the snorkeling theme because of what we spoke about originally. That's fine. Snorkeling is a refreshing escape, offering a glimpse into the colorful, quiet world beneath the waves. I actually quite like that. I'm going to give it a 4. It's asking me if I would like to have it revised to a 5. Let's see what it thinks my version of a 5 is. So I'm going to say yes, go ahead. Snorkeling offers a rare chance to slow down and explore the vibrant hidden world just below the surface. Yeah, I think I like the previous one better, so I'm going to give this one a 3. Now it's trying to improve it. Snorkeling reveals a hidden world of color and calm, inviting you to slow down and take it all in. So you get the idea, and as you continue to rate its approaches, in the background, it's taking note of what you find to be a strong response and what you find to be a weaker response. Just in case, you can also, at the end of this rating system activity, you can just ask it to develop a set of criteria based on what you have learned about ratings, what you have learned through my ratings. But you should only do this after you've gone back and forth for a while, so it's had time to collect enough data on the strengths and weaknesses. But I'm just using this as an example. And here is the criteria it came up with just based on this rating system activity. Clarity and precision, evocative but balanced imagery, smooth flow, reader-centric focus, originality. So here is of incredible prompts. You can also add to its persistent memory. And how did I produce them? By engaging in a dialogue and playing a rating system game with my AI. And lastly, another strategy you can use helping it prioritize. AI's ability to prioritize is really important because as your preferences grow, its ability to understand which is the most important versus least important is going to get a little more complicated. So helping clarify those priorities will help get your AI to continue responding in the way that you want. So to help my AI prioritize, I'm going to play what I call the priority game. Let's play the priority game. And when you call it the priority game, usually in the future, when you use that keyword, it'll remember what you're talking about and it'll start the game right away. I want you to give me sentences and then ask me to decide which one is stronger and use that preference to measure which priorities are most important in terms of my writing style preferences for the overall approach to communication. So I'm going to tell it option 1 is preferred. Thanks for the insight. Based on your choice, I'll focus on crafting sentences that highlight transformation and the extraordinary nature of experiences. Let's refine further for another set. Okay, so we're going to try again. Snorkeling turns the ocean into a living canvas filled with curiosity. I like them both, but I think I'm more of a fan of option 2. Option 2, please. And again, it's going to automatically register in its memory of what my preference is. And in case you're curious about what information it's actually putting into its memory, you can go ahead and ask, what criteria have you developed about my preferences based on my... Wow. Okay. I like all of these except for immersion and wonder, because this criteria applies specifically to the context of snorkeling, and I want criteria that's generalized enough that it's going to apply to other situations where I'm asking it to talk about other topics. The ones I like: dynamic and engaging imagery, clarity and flow, emotional connection. So these are the ones that it put into its persistent memory and will apply to future cases. Okay, so I hope you learned a lot about how to train your AI and how to keep ahead of your AI. If you enjoyed these tips and you want to continue learning more, make sure to hit the subscribe button and follow me.